We want to welcome you to this episode on Naked Issues. Naked Issues is launching a series that will be all about storytelling every Saturday. Yes, Saturdays are for realization, Saturdays are for recreation, Saturdays are for rest. So we don't want to bring you anything too serious. Want to bring you something that can help you relax as well. And even while you are relaxing, you are learning something. All the stories you're going to be hearing on this episode are true life stories. They are meant to help you believe in love and to help you realize that true love does exist. And you will be able to see what some persons have done, all in the name of love, the sacrifices that they have made. We want to present to you the story of Mahanandya. I hope I'm pronouncing the name very well because it's an Indian name. We have to go all the way to India to bring you this story. Trust me, you're going to love this story. You're going to learn a lot from it. Well, the story of Mahanandya begins on this note. Mahanandya was a young man that was born into abject poverty. The basic things that bring comfort to life, he never had the opportunity to access them because he was not only born into abject poverty, he was born into a caste system that highly discriminated against him. His chances at success in society were very slim. When he gained admission into school, Mahanandya classmates, whenever they come into close proximity with him, whenever they touched him, whenever they come into contact with him, they usually go and wash their hands. That was how bad the segregation he suffered was. As if that was not enough, even teachers were not allowing him come into the classroom to sit with other students. So most times he was learning outside the classroom, but none of this deterred him. He was determined to be educated. There were times that whenever he was approaching the temple, then people would be throwing stones at him. Of course, if you have heard about the caste system in India, if you have read about them, you will know how serious the social stratification is. Now, because he was living in extreme poverty where he couldn't afford the basic amenities of life, he started doing manual jobs in order to make ends meet. Luckily for Mahanandya, when he was a very young boy, he picked up interest in painting. So he started developing himself along those lines. He would paint. And as a result of that, when he gained admission into college to study, Mahanandya started going to the streets to do what is called street painting, where people would come, he would paint them, and they would give him stipend, which he would take back to his school to go and use to buy food and the basic things that he needed to tide him through school. Life was very hard. Life was difficult for Mahanandya. So this was the life that he lived from the age of 22 to about 26. One day, as usual, where he would go to the streets to go and paint, a young lady by the name Charlotte happened to travel all the way from Sweden for the Christmas break on a tourist visit to the nation of India. As coincidences would have it, on this very fateful day, she was on the street strolling around town when he stumbled upon this young man that was busy designing portraits for people who were handing him stipends. And so Charlotte picked interest in what Mahanandya was doing. He approached him and also asked for a portrait of herself to be drawn. Without wasting time, Mahanandya threw himself into the task and he began to draw a portrait of her, which he successfully completed and presented to her, and she walked away. The portrait was not well done. As a result of that, Charlotte had to come back the following day to come and, make a complaint about it to see any improvements that Mahanandya could make on this portrait. Well, to cut the long story short, they started feeling a certain attraction for each other. Before long, they became friends. And before long, while she was still in, because she spent about 3 weeks for her Christmas holiday in India, and their friendship continued. Of course, The 3 weeks were soon to be over, and this beautiful young lady started making plans to return back to Sweden to go and meet her parents. But Mahanadia made a promise to her that he's going to come to Sweden to look for her. Well, to cut a long story short, this young lady traveled back all the way to Sweden, and Mahanadia started working hard to gather money in order to travel to go and meet the love that he has found, the love of his life. To cut the long story short, for 2 years, he was not able to gather sufficient funds that could help him buy tickets to fly to Europe to go and meet the love of his life. Well, this is where the story gets interesting, and I don't know how many people will be willing to make this kind of sacrifice or go to this extent in order to, reunite with the love of their life. What did Mahanada do? Before I tell you the sacrifice that this guy paid for love, I want you to take out time to go to our YouTube page, where we have a lot of interesting videos that would enhance your relationship and love life. And kindly help to like and share those videos. Also comment and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Well, welcome back to the continuation of our story. What did Mahanandya do? Hey, the things that people do for love. Mahanandya had to go, and after 2 years, he had to gather everything he had, sold them, and bought a bicycle. I'm not sure you heard that. I said he sold everything he had, his clothes, his shoes, the little properties he had been able to amass as a result of the money he was making from the paintings he was doing on the street, and bought a bicycle. See, in order to travel from India to Europe, you are going to spend several kilometers in the air. You're going to spend several hours flying. But this young man decided to venture on such a feat with a bicycle. All right. What did he do? Well, on this particular year, sometime around January of this year, he mounted his bicycle and embarked on this journey all the way from India to far away Europe. This journey would see him travel from India to Pakistan, from Pakistan to Afghanistan, from Afghanistan to Iran, from Iran to Turkey, and from Turkey to eventually land in Europe. That's about 6 different countries in all, in order to get to the one that he loved. What a sacrifice. Well, in all, this journey lasted him about 4 months on the way. Yes, Mahanandya spent 4 months bicycling in order to get to Sweden to go and meet the love of his life. This young man traveled for 4 months. Not by train, not with a car, but on bicycle, pedaling. Do you know how strenuous that would have been on his body? Do you know the toll it would take on his muscles, on his bones, on even his mind? But what was that thing that kept him on the road for 4 months, despite the harsh weather conditions in the various towns that he must have, stopped over in order to rest for some time or for the night? The things that people do for love, sha. Please tell us in the comment section, do you believe that this kind of love still exists? Can the ladies still find guys that are willing to go this length to make this sacrifice for them? Can guys still be willing to make this kind of sacrifices for ladies? Tell us what you think. After such a long time on the road, this young man eventually got to Sweden. Well, of course, Sweden is not India. There is the culture barrier that he also had to overcome. It was not fun at all. Don't forget that Charlotte's parents were still alive. And so this young man would also fight to win their heart as well. Because it's not just enough to win the heart of the lady, the girl of your dream or the guy of your dream. What about their parents? What about their folks? But thank God that in the case of Mahanandya, the family of the girl eventually consented and they got married in Sweden. And that dream that began a few years ago in India, that spark, of attraction that bloomed into love, which began on the streets of India, eventually culminated into them becoming husband and wife. What an amazing story of love and sacrifice. Well, as the story eventually went, it wasn't long after then, Mahanandya was able to land a good job, a job as a special advisor to the Swedish government. His wife pursued a career in music. So before long, life became very, very good to them. So much so that they had a program that was able to offer scholarships to about 25,000 Indian students who wanted to pursue a career in art. We were told that in the year 2005, he was nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. He became so popular for this sacrifice and feat he made for love, so much so that BBC had to interview him, even CNN had to interview him. There is a statement that he made on CNN that I like very much. He said that he didn't like cycling, but he had to cycle for love. So the question for those of you out there, our listeners and viewers today, is what sacrifice are you willing to make for love? The lesson we want you to pick from this story today is the fact that there's no obstacle that is strong enough, there's no obstacle that is tough enough that can deter a heart that is truly determined to pursue love. And also from the story of Mahanandya, you can see that your social status or class should not be a deterrent from pursuing the love that you think you deserve. Yes. Tell us what you think in the comment section. We'll be glad to hear from you. We also want to use this opportunity to ask you to kindly go to YouTube and subscribe to our YouTube channels, where we have a lot of interesting videos that would enhance your love and relationship life. Once again, my name is PJ and I bring you greetings from CJ, who is not on set with me today, but asked me to send her love and her regards. Thank you. See you again next Saturday for Story Time Saturday.